close your eyes, you can do so. But take a deep breath in through your nose and hold that breath. And exhale, let it go through your mouth. Again, deep breath in and out. In and out. Another deep breath in. And hold this breath for a moment and feel it. And as you exhale, just let go of everything that didn't serve you today. And take another deep breath in. And let go of the plans that you have for the remainder of the evening so that you can be grounded and centered with us for the next 30 minutes. Thank you so much for joining us for that deep breathing exercise. Now I want you to meet our guest, Alan Henderson, a 24-year-old entrepreneur and community advocate, exploring a run for mayor of Tampa. His journey is one of resilience, from founding his first company at 16 to becoming a caregiver for his mother, an experience that forged his deep commitment to service. He is a nationally recognized innovator and is now channeling his entrepreneurial spirit into a vision for a more affordable, safe, and inclusive Tampa. Welcome to the Transforming Lives, Alan.
Sharmin, Mitzy, thank you very, very much for the thoughtful introduction and for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Is there anything you would like to add to your bio?
No, I think that was a really great introduction. I think you touched on a lot of the core themes I'm excited to talk about. Of course, my journey is unconventional, but I hope that it allows people to maybe see the potential in their own unconventional journey and step up and get involved with what's important to them.
Beautiful. In your bio, you mentioned that you founded your first company at age 16 while working at Burns Steakhouse. What did those early years of balancing work, school, and entrepreneurship teach you?
I appreciate that. It taught me a lot about, if you know anything about Burns, we say here the legendary Burns Steakhouse in our city, because they have a pretty high standard, pretty high culture. And so very early, I kind of knew what it meant to show up early and work really late and put a lot of effort into the product that you're trying to build. And so it taught me about how to compartmentalize, right? How to set high standards, and then just work at it continuously. And because it also all happened to be things I was passionate about, my company, you say company at 16, it really starts as a community before anything else. And so because it was something that I was passionate about, it taught me to spend time curating and spend time focusing on the final product. And it's something I carry with me to this day.
And where did you get the drive, the motivation to start a company at 16? Because most people are in high school and not thinking about entrepreneurship. And you were in school, you're working, and then you're creating your own business. Where did that drive come from?
I have to give essentially all the credit to my parents. They have, from a very young age, invested time and energy and just believing in me. I went through a lot of phases as a kid, you know, and so I'm not sure that it was always financially convenient or, but they supported me through it, is my point. And they were encouraging. And so as you try things at a young age and you get out, I probably started my first business when I was closer to like 13 or 14, selling pictures for my brother's football team to the parents. Um, and so that journey started with, the Christmas before that season, asking for a camera, telling me I think I want to get into photography. Um, it turned into, maybe photography classes in Tampa, and eventually it turned into, selling those pictures. So definitely my parents believing in me and supporting dreams from the onset um, gave me the room to kind of learn and explore and to keep building.
Wow.
And I mean, I'm really curious. I mean, 24, you're running for mayor. How did your journey take you to the point where you are now running for mayor?
That's a great question. Like I said, certainly unconventional. Um, it's a career and a life outside of politics. But I would say of being affected by the system that I want to try to fix. Um, I've seen, especially as my mom started to get a little sicker, I've seen what it's like to try to work against a system that feels so much bigger than you.
Hmm.
Um, and feeling powerless against it, um, for me, it turned into a motivator. It turned into, um, something that said, all right, I have these skills that have allowed me to deal with tough times. It allowed me to compartmentalize. It allowed me to empathize with others really well. Um, and I feel like where we are in our city, where we are in Tampa, um, the city is looking for someone who can listen. The city is looking for someone who can understand the challenges of what it's like to live here. We're dealing with a lot of issues that a lot of growing cities experience. Traffic, congestion, a lack of opportunities, and feeling like you're getting priced out. And so, taking that really lived experience, that resident experience of fighting big systems and uh, leading through it, I think is what could really benefit our city right now.
Thank you for sharing that. What specific experience being the caregiver to your mom, which, by the way, before I continue, I need to commend you on that
Thank you.
because it's not often you hear or meet a 24-year-old who has been a caregiver to their mom. So I need to commend you on that. But what was there a specific experience that caused you and motivated you to say, you know what? I think I need to become a change maker in this city. And and in order for me to do that, I have to be in City Hall.
I appreciate that question. It's likely a variety of experiences, to be truthful. One of the early ones I can tell you, I mean, it just starts with having to take over things so quickly. My mom was the sort of, my dad would call her the glue to our family, right? So she was managing um, bills, managing insurance, healthcare, kind of doing it all in silent as she's sick. And, um, you know, we as your kids didn't really experience the full extent of it until we kind of got hit with it all. Um, and so someone had to kind of step up and take over um, everything from medications to schedules and appointments. Um, dealing with Tico on the phone because they want to cut the power off, and it's just a lot to have hit you all very very quickly. And so I had to not only learn how to heal myself, learn
Mm,
how to protect myself and grow through that. But I also have people underneath me that were counting on me to um, be there for the company, the team we were building, be there for my family. And one of the experiences that made me ultimately realize that, well, maybe I did pick up a little bit of sort of acumen throughout the journey was by the time it was the funeral happened, we had this family provider, family funeral home essentially, that everybody goes to. And for some reason in our family, it's like if you do things a certain way for a certain amount of time, that's just how it is. And nobody really seems to question it. And so, we go there, and I think the director was essentially assuming it was a done deal. Shake hands, he hands us the bill of goods, and I'm looking, and I'm like, they're charging us for the miles we drive, they're charging us for the weight of the casket, it's just a bunch of just extra fees. And I knew that that likely wasn't the best investment for us. And I knew that even my mom would have wanted me to do a little deeper research than that. And so I had to kind of take a leap of faith and say to my family, the youngest in the room, and say to the pastor and everybody there, we're probably not going to sign anything today. Let us go do more research, and we'll get back. And I could feel the weight of that decision, making it on behalf of the family right there in the moment. But I knew that that was the right case. And so we found a funeral home in Tampa, and the service was beautiful. The service was truly beautiful, and probably saved us about, funerals are expensive, so it saved us a considerable amount of money. But the point is, it took really leaning on the experience of understanding what matters to her, fighting for what's important for my family, and just like being courageous about it, to get what we wanted. And I think that those kind of values translate really well in City Hall.
Great.
Yeah, I think that, when you mentioned that sort of just that not accepting the status quo, and even though we were the youngest, having a voice and speaking up and saying, this feels off, and so let's take a breath and re-examine. And so often, especially in government, it happens that, well, this is the way we've always done it, so we're just going to keep doing it this way. And it's like, yes, but if it's broken, then the way we've always done it isn't just the thing to continue with. And it's, as you say, hard to push against when there's a lot of others that say, well, this is how it's always been.
Exactly right. And I figured, I'm not tied to any political systems. My experience is building communities in Tampa, networking deeply in Tampa, seeing both sides of the city, as I like to call it, and running on that kind of conviction, I think is going to be way more relevant to solving issues than any decades of, experience being in and of the system.
I love your unique path. And thinking about being a mayoral candidate with your unique path as, and I didn't mention this in your bio, an actor, with Disney, an
Right.
entrepreneur, a caregiver to your mother. That also the experience that you just shared. In that moment when there is grief and a vulnerable moment where persons really capitalize on taking advantage of the grieving family, you stood up and you're like, no, this is not what we're going to do, and made a decision to break traditions and customs in the family. It's a remarkable quality for a mayor of a community or of a city. With that in mind, and all the roles that I listed, what skills are you using to promote yourself and against your opponents, your rivals?
Certainly. I would say one of the skills that have helped me the most, would be, without a doubt, is actively listening to the people around me, and then trying to deeply empathize with their experience beyond what they're trying to portray, but the actual person beneath the exterior. Um, and it's a skill that over the years has opened so many doors for me. It's allowed me to sort of travel the world. It's allowed people who maybe otherwise wouldn't have believed in me, but because I'm actually listening to what they're saying and I'm listening to the advice that they're giving. These are CEOs in our city. These are chief executives who any other world really wouldn't be interested in lending their time, I'm sure. But it's because I'm deeply focused and committed to understanding them and what they're going through. And sort of those skills have translated to my teams as well. Being able to actively listen to their concerns and invite them into building with us has allowed me to scale really smart teams. Honor students at our local universities, business owners, entrepreneurs, even on our we call it the Tomorrow team, our sort of expert panel. These are seasoned professionals, multi-year professionals, and I take into our conversations the same, degree of active listening I take into community hall sessions and town hall sessions, just to focus on understanding their problems, understanding the feedback they give us, and running with it.
Well, active listening is a developed skill. So I'm curious because you mentioned that a lot, and I know it's a developed skill. So where did you learn that active listening is an important skill when you're serving humanity or truth for service to humanity? And how have you honed in, developed, and now it's a part of who you are?
I appreciate that, and that's sort of what I was thinking about as you're asking it. Is it's always sort of been a part of who I am, I suppose, growing up. As an actor, with Disney especially, you're pretty high standard, so you're always kind of listening to specific cues. Hey, can you smile more during this line, or can you, it's really you have to actively listen. Then over the years, that shaped into, especially like a single mom, I got sick. You're listening to really specific instructions on dosage or medication. You're listening to specific instructions on, therapy, physical therapy, that sort of thing. And so over the years, it's just sort of been a skill that I've seen when I apply it to my teams and I apply it to my own personal life and the people I care about. And just really just listening to the things that they're saying to you. It resolves for a lot of bandwidth. You can save a lot of energy and kind of curate a lot of alignment just by listening to the people you care about. And so maybe it was a slow burn, if you will, but it's sort of gotten me to where I am today. And now it's a skill that I can't even imagine facing life without.
When I think when a lot of people think of politicians, I would think that one of the biggest lacking skills that I see in most politicians is active listening and hearing what people are saying. So I think that in and of itself sets you so far apart and above and beyond probably 99% of all politicians, whether they be local, state, federal. That's the foundation of everything to build on.
I appreciate it. And I know how serious it is, especially when you're wanting to run a city. And if, when we start to serve, especially as a young leader, that kind of feedback is invaluable. And the way I've always seen it is if you are serious in your commitments, if the things you're running on are the type of city and foundation you actually want to curate, I don't know any serious leader that wouldn't want feedback, that wouldn't want to actively listen to concerns, and so they can work on it, right? And so it is a stark contrast to a lot of politicians that we've seen, but it's also what is fueling the desire to get in the race, to sort of be the change that you want to see, right?
And one of the other obvious sort of questions is, you're relatively young compared to a lot of other people who enter into politics. And in a lot of ways, I'm sure that that opens a lot of doors, and it makes a lot of other doors harder to get in because of it. Can you elaborate a little bit about sort of how you're dealing with that aspect?
Surely, yeah, I definitely think, like you said, it's opened a lot of doors, and it's sort of raised uh, pretty important questions um, that require me to answer and require our campaign to address thoughtfully. Um, Generally, the city's been pretty receptive. I would actually say the most surprising part was how quickly that became a non-relevant factor.
Mm.
Um, I think that at first we were very excited. I'm one of the youngest candidates in our city's history, and so at first it was something that we were really excited about, loud and proud. And then we started to realize, oh, okay, Tampa is taking our campaign very seriously, and for mayor, it's an important role. And so a lot of the conversations, maybe they started with, oh, you're young, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? Now it's, how are you going to solve the challenges in our city? And so that shift, it was short lived. The kind of excitement, I suppose, of being the youngest candidate. But I like that it's open. What I really value is that other young people can sort of see themselves in our campaign, and can step up in faith of their experiences, um, to lead their own lives, to do something impactful in their own journeys. And so that's something I still value a lot. And I think that our core audience in the campaign are going to be people that I can hopefully inspire with that theme.
As an entrepreneur, you're used to moving quickly and being the decision maker and ensuring things happen and getting the results in order to get the results and the desired outcome.
Sure.
But people often criticize the government, or even the city for being too slow and having all these red tape and bureaucracy in order to get a decision.
Absolutely.
How would you apply your startup mindset to City Hall to ensure delivery of your promise, the promises that you've made to your constituents, and make it more efficient and effective?
I love this question because part of my favorite thing about leadership is getting into the weeds and the different cultures of each department, so you can lead it effectively. Our approach looks like starting small, right? Not trying to bet everything on one particular approach. Build it in pilots and scale it as you ensure it's effective with the city's input. And so when you're starting with not how do you change the entire city overnight, but how do you change one specific deliverable, or how do you account for one specific outcome? And then my job as the leader is to go into meetings with the city attorneys and the accountants and the city planners, and to work with them and say, this is the outcome that we want to achieve. What are the steps in between? How do we get there? And what can we do today and tomorrow to be one step closer to it? And it looks like just having honest conversations that look similar to that. And I think that when you're working from that approach, and you're honest with the community, and they see that you're really trying to make an effort, I think that what we'll get through the end of that will be far more productive than what we've had leading to.
Excellent. I love your approach, where you're focusing on you like, how can I put that? There
The
is
outcome.
a specific area, and you're going to be working on that area and then develop. And it sounds like, this is my assumption from what you're saying, that if that doesn't work, we have a strategy that we're going to implement as a follow-up. So, great strategy. But I read about affordable housing, that you talk about expanding affordable housing.
Absolutely.
I'm in New York City, worked in the homeless and formerly homeless sector. So I understand the importance of affordable housing. And how are you going to put a modern or use your generational impact to ensure that the expansion of affordable housing in Tampa is intergenerational?
Oh, what an amazing question. Because it sort of also talks about a question that I spend a lot of time thinking about, which is what sort of impact do you ultimately want to have on the city? Do you want to get your name on the side of some building, or do you want to be in the libraries? And for me, consistently, the impact I want to leave is that intergenerational reprioritization of the people who live here, uh, recognizing housing as sort of a non-starter, as a right, a human right. I don't know how you can have a competent city when residents every day are increasingly sleeping on the streets. And so, what our approach looks like is changing how we procure some of these housing. I think that continuing to try to invest in the same strategies is going to lead to sort of the same outcomes. And so I'm a big fan of modularism and creative retrofitting. We've seen hotels be reformed into affordable spaces. There's viable models all across the country, all across the world that I think would work really great in Tampa. But it all begins with, again, staying outcome oriented, being receptive to new designs. And I think that if a mayor can introduce this kind of thinking, can be bold and maybe say we can have a few neighborhoods that might not have to look all like the rest of the neighborhoods, but if they're obtainable, that's a great option for the city to have. Um, and so just being kind of unafraid to open that seal, I think will invite a lot more creativity and culture over the years as well.
That sounds like a great way to look at it, because as you say, there's so many buildings that, as the world has evolved and changed, buildings that were once, full are now empty, and figuring out how to repurpose them and use them for housing is a fabulous way to help, improve the area too, because then it's not just an empty building sitting there. Who are some of the leaders, uh, business owners, influencers that have that you liked the way that they've sort of approached things, and that sort of helped you build your style, so to speak?
Oh, I love this because it's a really personal list. Everything from authors to leaders in history that have also kind of stood up in their own journeys, stood up for what they believed in, and worked really hard to achieve it. So I could give you a probably pretty exhaustive list. Um, but I'll tell you one of the more recent ones that inspired me. He's a professor. I study at Harvard, the Kennedy School. And he's a professor there, and he's an author. And we were talking about imposter syndrome. I'm telling him, like, I understand how City Hall works very well. I take very detailed notes during City Council, and when I go out and talk with residents, uh, I understand deeply the conversations and the issues that are impacting them, um, and I carry that with me. But I'm also 24, and every conversation that I have, I feel like I end up leaving it with so many more questions and so much more that I want to learn. And so I'm telling him that it makes me feel um, capable in so many ways, but it also reminds me of, the audacity of the role and what we want to accomplish. And he reminded me, and this stuck with me, uh, that is a sign of someone who cares about the work, uh, and that there will always be more to learn. There will always be more to integrate yourself with. But the fact that you don't enter it feeling like you know it all uh, is a great starting place for transformative change. Um, and so there's a variety of stories and conversations similar to that trend. That just from watching how they've carried the weight, President Obama, I think is historic, all the way to Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Toni Morrison, an author I was reading recently. I mean, just I could go on and on and on. about just leaders who have just carried the things they valued with them, and it's manifested in their work.
I want to follow that, but because of time, because I love to hear, I love your list of leaders, but I'm gonna, just let that go. And I like that the first person you mentioned is a professor. Um, so there is that intellectual foundation that is important also to serve the community, along with your personal experiences. You've been recognized on the list like 25 on the 25 Titan 100. But what does being a Titan means to you in the context of community leadership? Not just business successes, but being an advocate and now a mayoral candidate for Tampa.
Thank you for that question. It's funny because that is largely how I see the value in the acknowledgement, is through the lens of what it could mean for the community and what it can mean for the impact I hope to have across Tampa. Titan, in that sense, for me, looks like someone who is unapologetically willing to stand up for things they value and unapologetically be themselves and trust their experiences and trust the outcomes that their experience will bring for them. I see Titan as sort of a forger path, if you will, and I hope that I'm able to forge paths for people along their journeys as well,
Alan.
even if it looks a little different. Sorry, please.
Oh, no. Alan, so how can people find you, get more information, see what your policies and who you are and what you stand for? What's the best way for them to get that information?
I would hope, and thank you for asking, I would hope that they visit our website at hendersonfortampa.org. I share this, our opponents, they're going to be running to the tune of about $3 million or so. It's going to be a very expensive race. But somebody reminded me of a story about a guy with just two shoes, and he knocked on every door in Florida, and the theme is that he won his race. And so my goal is to build a team of people who see the vision, who also believe in a city that creates opportunities and not obstacles in their journeys. And so if that resonates, hendersonfortampa.org. I'm looking forward to your support.
Okay, excellent. And now for some rapid fire questions from Sharmin to wrap us up.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Tea or coffee?
Ooh, coffee. Yeah, good coffee doesn't hurt.
Your best lessons you learned from Burns Steakhouse?
Work hard. Work hard. They work really hard there.
One word your mom would have used to describe you?
Wow. That's a good one. That is a good one. Empathetic, hopefully.
Your go-to order at Tampa local spot?
Ooh, go-to order. Cafe con leche doesn't hurt. It's very Cuban vibes.
Okay. The most important skill you learned as a caregiver?
Most important, I think, patience. Truly patience. That and active listening, like I said, were big ones.
Entrepreneurial trait most needed in government?
Oh, good question. I would say agility. And focus. Just the ability to kind of get things done, not taking no for an answer, and being able to maneuver government.
Biggest advantage of being a younger candidate?
Oh, no, I mean, no political baggage is great. I'm learning so much about